Hey, welcome back everyone. We are back out here finally at our historic front porch rebuild project. So we have been waiting on the owner to complete stripping the paint off of some of the decorative details that need to go back on. And we're just about ready to go with that. So we're going to get started today actually with the porch ceiling. And then we'll move on to adding the rest of the detail and we'll finally get this thing wrapped up. So we'll take a look at what we're doing. So we got a few things left to do here now that we got the roof in place. Up there we need the brackets and some more trim applied. Down here we still need the lattice, and we don't have risers yet, so I try not to trip over the uneven ground. Columns still need a touch more work. We need a rail, of course, and then up here we need to get the ceiling, which was beadboard, back in place. So we are probably going to start with the ceiling up here. First task for the porch ceiling is get a ledger board in here. So we got some pressure treated 2x6s. And we were able to, again, just like the roof, take advantage of some wood in the wall between the bay there, and then there's some wood over the window. So we popped it in with some deck screws, and now we can follow up with anchors. So won't go anywhere. And then we just need to build our grid across. We are making progress on getting the ceiling framing up. So pretty simple, just a 2x6 frame across. And then it previously had beadboard with a pretty tight profile, and there are 4x8 panels with the bead milled into them that are essentially an exact match. The beadboard that was up here, the original plan was to reuse it, but it's pretty degraded. It would be hard to work with. We can start fresh with those panels. It'll look exactly the same. Be a lot easier. If it ever needs to come down, those can just come off in a piece, although hopefully it doesn't need to. And it'll also go up a lot quicker, so labor savings there. The panels are about $30 with tax, so also if we were going to get new actual beadboard, the panels are substantially cheaper. So all around easier, and once the paint is on, no one will know the difference. Well, we have the ceiling frame up. As I said, pretty simple. Just need to get the joist hangers on here still, and then we'll be ready. It is another hot day out here, and our new roof is trapping the heat quite well. So we're gonna get down and get cooled off. We are back on another hot morning and got a coat of paint on the top up there and cleaned up the extra scaffolding that we don't need, some boards and some other things, because we are leaving for a 2-week-long backpacking trip in New Mexico. So we won't be back to this site for a little while. And actually when we get back, we'll be going to another job that you will eventually see while the owner works on stripping the paint off of the brackets and other pieces that we need to go back on. So we'll have a bit of a pause here and then pick it back up at some point later this summer. Not sure exactly how that'll work out, but we'll continue on at that point. So the previous version of the porch didn't even have a box for the light, so we're definitely upgrading here alone. And we got one of those handy dandy adjustable boxes. It's rated for like 120 pounds at 16 inches on center, so I don't think it'll have any trouble holding up the new light, but if they wanted to put a fan there or something, could do that. But once that is in place, we will start putting the panels up. Gotta go back, it's catching the ladder. There you go. Stupid. Watch out for light. Old light. one feels lighter. Am I crazy? Yeah. Alright, I'm on my seam. No, you're not. You were up too high. I'm up down one. You're not. You're not up in the... It's gotta go out. Not that far. Okay, now you're not on it. You're not. Feel like it. It's not in the middle.
That board's got a bow to it, though. What I'm doing.
Must. Well, you gotta go in.
No, now we gotta go.
Well, that's a problem.
I got it.
Yeah, so
We're almost there.
right there.
Two.
You know, if we had bags on, that wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Well, that takes care of the ceiling itself. Needs a bunch of touch-up work now, and then next step is the trim on the inside around there, get everything repainted, and then down to the rails. So we are back on a rainy day to get the rest of the trim in place, and we got to put some blocks up there that you can see we started. But we got a little friend on the job as well. A giant moth hanging out up here, staying dry, I guess. That is, you can use the 1.5 inch thickness of that 2x8 there to get a sense of the scale. Just hanging out there. So I guess we'll interrupt that guy at some point because we're getting pretty close, but we're going to bring these blocks around here to hold the upper piece of trim here off at the correct amount, and then there is another small piece of trim. You can see the unpainted gap there that goes around the entire perimeter, and that'll pretty much take care of things inside except for some more painting. Alright, well, I just did dumb. I think we buried my hammer back there, and when I say we, I'm pretty sure I should be saying I, because I put it there. And then we put this board up, so we're going to gently remove it and see if it's behind this front piece, which I believe it is. Hopefully it's not behind the side piece there. Okay, well, the good news is the hammer is right there, and there the hammer goes, and thankfully not the whole board. So I guess we'll get this back in place, and then we will continue working along to the next piece. Need to add in a little more where they join there, and also not buried that tape measure or anything else.
And a block of wood.
Yeah, oh well, stupid things happen. Back out to the exterior, and there is a little more trim to apply out here. So there's this band about an inch up that we're reapplying. And this we're apparently slightly longer than the previous porch. Luckily, we had a little trim piece on another spot. We were able to fit it in there. Still need to clean that up a little better, but for that trim, we got it repaired. We'll see how this part that we're applying here goes. And then there's also the brackets that reapply under here. And at that point, all the trim up top will be complete. We got all of the trim up on the inside now, and it went pretty well, except we had a little gap out here, and there was actually a board that they were using to tie them together that is the same board, so we're going to be able to fill that in nicely with that little piece, and once it's caulked up and painted, no one will know the difference. Then we actually had the same thing up there, but we had a little offcut off one of the ends that was just slightly too long that fit in there really nicely, so that fills that up as well. And then we just need some more paint in here to clean this all up, so just about ready to go on the inside. And we got the little trim strip done around there, and just like the inside, we had a little fill-in piece, but we were able to trim that off the sides as well. And again, once it's painted, nobody will know the difference. So next step on this is, just like the inside, paint the outside again, and then we also need to get the little brackets put back in place, and then we need a railing still. For now, we're just painting everything white. The owner can choose later to come up with an appropriate color scheme. Most of the porches around here have some nice color, although some are a little more basic, but the white works for now just to get everything protected. So just a good semi-gloss exterior paint from Sherwin-Williams. And we're working down from the top with our final coats here. The columns still need a couple coats, of course, and then we will work on to the inside ceiling. All right, we're back to get the lattice on the bottom, and interestingly, came rolled up in boxes. It's special order because it's square instead of diamond on the diagonal, and I guess this makes shipping easy, less chance of it breaking rolled up in a box. So they rolled them out, and I was confused. I'm like, I ordered lattice. And we opened them up, and sure enough, there was lattice inside. So we'll pop it out of the box, and hopefully it goes nice and flat. All right, so I took it out of the box, and I thought it was going to explode, but it was banded, so maybe it will now.
Nope.
Oh, but that was just the most anticlimactic thing ever. I'm sad. Well, now I'm wondering if we're going to have to, like, roll it out and throw some boards over it, because I think it's been in that form for a while, so I guess we'll figure this out. maybe it looks a little bit goofy, but the deck itself makes a perfectly good platform for cutting. We need to split these in half to go in this lower part that is obviously less than 4 feet. So a half panel pretty well covers what we need. It isn't long enough. The grade here is a little off of what it should be. So those piers are kind of extra high out of the ground at the moment. But once we put the half piece on and trim it with 1x6, the PVC you can see right back there, we're going to sandwich it onto the pressure treated 2x4s, and it'll attach behind the 2x12 band, which also gets covered by a 1x12 for finish appearance. So that should make a pretty nice look when it's all finished. I certainly hope so, because we got the materials for it, so it better work out. And then these column bases are actually are in production, so hopefully we'll have those relatively soon to put on to complete that look. And I don't think they're going to beat the rail here, so we're probably going to put the rail on before that, but that's fine. The columns will just need a touch of plumbing up to make that right, and then all this bottom will be done. So we got 2 projects underway today. We're getting the columns painted up finally. They're looking good. You can see the middle one has a first coat, and then getting the lattice going. So basically we're getting the lattice tacked into place, and then building a pressure treated 2x4 frame behind it, and then the front gets PVC 1x6 framed around it. And then the grade here, as we mentioned, also needs to come up so it'll look like not a giant gap there. So we're just working around. Got the first side piece over here framed in on the back, and we're just getting the pieces attached here. So we'll get this side completed, and then we just pop that piece on there. It doesn't have any frame yet. We'll put this piece in, and then we'll get the stairs, which will leave kind of a small access to get through. And then we can do, since we have the risers open, we can still get the stairs from the front. So that'll be maybe a little bit tricky, but the rest of it's going on pretty easy because it's pretty simple. Just get the pieces on there and then cut the 2x4s to size. So we'll keep moving along on that, and pretty soon these columns are going to be looking really nice. I may just be building my own cage down here to trap myself in. So we got this section around, just attached a couple more pieces here. Got our one vertical block there, so I forgot a tape measure. I need to measure the distance there, and then I need to put that 2x4 on at the end of this piece and measure this 2x4 here. And then we got to put a couple top pieces here, which basically wedge the lattice in like that down there. We've tacked it up with just some brad nails, because if it does want to expand and contract, it can just pop around those. Otherwise, we're going in between the holes so that it can move freely. They suggest that as the means for securement. If you do need to put a screw through it, you're supposed to drill a bigger hole, because it's not really going to get a lot of sun out front here because it faces north, but you know, as things heat up, cool down, it definitely moves around more than wood. So I guess I gotta, at this point, either squeeze through the stairs or go down to that end. So this is not a project really made for a person my size, but it is what it is. We'll get it done today. Won't have to deal with this again down here, thankfully. Got a big old late season grasshopper friend visiting the job site today. So while he observes our nice work, we got all of the main sections of lattice around in place. So we need to get the 1x6 trim attached. And then we also have a first coat and partial second coat of paint on the columns here. So this is our first kind of semi-complete view, and the sun is in a bad spot at the moment. Alright, well, that's the view. At the moment, we're picking up the rail tomorrow to get started on that, so it's really going to be coming together. We're running out of time for today, but we did get the first section of 1x6s on, and I think that's looking pretty good, so we'll just carry that around. And of course the stairs still need the lattice and risers, but the columns are all painted up with 2 coats on each of them and looking pretty good, much better than the stripped down rough wood. So we'll be back tomorrow for more 1x6s and get the rail going. We're getting our 1x12 band around here in place, and it's relatively simple, but except you'll note that there are some bolt heads sticking out, and also got to go around the stairs. So stairs is of course an easy notch, and then the bolt heads is pretty easy too. You can just plow a spot out with the circular saw blade. Be careful of course, but if you take it slow and easy, it'll go through that. Maybe not quite like a hot knife through butter, but pretty close. So we're also getting these painted before we put them on. So they come pre-primed, of course, as you see. And then we got our little paint station, not really, just the ground, set up over here. So getting the backside coated with a coat of paint, because the primer is nice, but it's not meant to hold up for the long term. So get that paint on there before we put them in place, and then we'll get them all measured and cut, so should go on there pretty easy. Minor complication with the last piece here, we couldn't actually get it to slide behind. The height just didn't quite work, but these screws do thankfully allow you to back them out, so we were able to just pull that top step off. We should be able to secure this no problem now. We know it does actually fit, at least lengthwise, so we're gonna give that a shot. Here we got our 1x12 in all around, so we do have to make one little adjustment there with a brace back to plumb up the lattice. It's sticking out just a little bit down there at the bottom, but we'll just tie it back to the joists. So we'll get the rails going now, and the first step of that is we got to add some posts. Of course, the steps don't have columns, and then we need an intermediate post. So these will attach as we wait for a cut. It's a nice cut. So these will attach right back to the rim. So drill a little hole through. We know exactly how it lines up side to side, but then we know basically where the 2x8 is back there, or double 2x8, but don't know exactly how it transfers here. So I'm going to open this up a little bit more, figure out exactly where it's at, then we can get our 4x4 in there without overcutting. Of course, cut a little bit of room for expansion. So replacing some of the tools that were lost on the burglary I had, got a brand new jigsaw. First little cut, seems to be working well, I would hope. And then this is maybe the most fun part of how we have it now. You have to crawl through, and it's not the easiest thing in the world, but I suppose it could be worse. We could have to just roll under there. Okay, so Dave's inside. We got this plumbed up now. It looks good. You can go ahead, screw that in. I'll focus here. Why? There we go. So it basically just goes back to the joist that's right there. So that should hold it just fine. Well, you can't really see, but it's tied in down there. So I'm going to let off on this and see And yep, still right in the middle, so we're in good shape there. Just get a couple more screws in there at the bottom, and then he can Dave can give birth to himself from the porch out the hole again. All right, so Dave's headed back down to the bottom. We're getting our center post in here, and with the jigsaw and a drill bit, it's really not that hard to draw. Well, not hard to draw it, but also not hard to cut a square hole right through. So as you can see there, it lines up right on the rim joist on the front. That's a double 2x8 and 2x12, so good anchoring opportunity there. So I'm gonna grab this, we'll get it up there plumbed up and anchored into place. That's the back here. You reversed it, right? Yeah.
I go from back.
You gotta tell me when.
Alright, just get yourself, is that good enough for the, put one in?
Yeah, drive that in. And
How about that?
Gonna need a hint of an adjustment.
It's gonna come towards the house, it's like it's
Yeah, well, it definitely needs to. So, go ahead and drive in right there. Well, it's plumbed that way, but it's not even close.
Which way?
Front to back.
What do you gotta go? Which way?
It's leaning way out.
Which way? To the front?
It's leaning way to the front, to the street. Tighten the bottom
Damn.
more. It's still about 3/4 off at the.
If I pull this out, we do. Get it back straightened up.
Line it up off side to side. That's about a 1/4 inch out at the
We hit it again.
very top.
There.
Oh, hold on. That's slightly too far, actually. Retighten slightly. Slight more tight. Alright, you're good.
All the way?
We ended up off slightly side to side, but we can fix that with the rail itself. Oh, it's actually good on this side. By the point where we cut it off, it's just the top's got a little curve, so by the point we cut it off, we're actually good.
Okay.
Pressure treated lumber continues to kind of suck, but we found the straightest we could find, and slight adjustment there got it pretty good. Well, I found myself back under the porch again. Came through the stairs. Had to suck it in a little, bit tight, but I needed to get under here to be able to get this fastened through from behind. So got the screws started. Let's see if they will. Little out of focus there. Okay, I think that is the last thing for the underside. So one last look by bottom of the porch. You can see our brace right there holding nicely. So I'm gonna try and make my way back out of here. Oh, yeah,
definitely don't have the correct body form for 12-inch center stringers, but there we go. Back out. So around. That is just enough for me. More would be nice, but there we go. You can see what we're doing on the back there. So we'll finish framing that out, and then we'll just cut our riser boards as well. So in just a moment, we'll have the 4 of those in place, and the stairs will be complete. So we are back today to get started on the rail. Now that we got our posts in place, got the top and bottom rails there, and we're using what is locally referred to as Soulard rail. And we got a couple pieces here that you can see the profile maybe a little bit better. Put it down like that, so it's it's out of focus. There we go. Okay, so round it over on top. This is a couple pieces I already had on hand, and then the bottom sits like that. So milled over, not just a 2x4. And then wanted to match basically what was here before the owner did. So we'll be using just basic kind of colonial looking pressure treated spindles in there. So we'll start measuring up what we need here, chopping our pieces to length, getting everything secured. Well, we got all the front sections of the top and bottom rail in place. Nice screw right there to hold it in. The columns are a little bit of a pain because you have to notch. We'll swing around here. You have to kind of scribe it to it, and we didn't get it quite exact because the columns are no longer quite exact, but a little caulk and paint makes a carpenter what he ain't. So we'll get those filled up. Nobody will know the difference. So now we got to get the 2 sides going. Got the post there, and we got the post there to anchor. And unfortunately, do have to scribe to the column 2 more times, 1 time at each end. You can see where there's been a couple different rails on these over time where there's pieces kind of chewed out. We're going to do a little more careful job this time to not really get in there, but making some good progress here. Pretty simple process here. We're just initially attaching it with a couple brads in each piece. Those are basically just to hold it in place while we drill pilot holes, and then hit a couple screws in each end in a relatively hidden spot. So the underside, if we can, or like these bottoms, just in where the pickets go. Once it's painted up, it'll be completely unobtrusive. So if we walk back down the steps, we can take a look across. As Dave finishes up the last piece there, that is all of the top and bottom rail pieces. So now just need to add up the number of pickets we need, run and get those, cut them all to size, and then get them in place. Alright, we got the spindles going on today, and we gotta do a little bit of custom work because these are different spindles than you would typically use with the Soulard rail. They're typically just a rectangle piece, very similar to that. So those you miter and then slide in. These need, oh, going crazy. So there we go. These need a miter and a notch, and then a trim to the correct height. So we got the chop saw and the table saw working together to make that. So we got our first stretch on there. They're attached at the bottom, but not the top. And then working down the side here now. So the stairs, once we got the initial angle and the notches
figured out. It's turned out to be pretty easy. We got our spacing marked out. We're just holding them here, plumbing them up to get the distance that we need. And we're good there, so just put a mark on there. Then each of them we'll bring over to the saw, cut the size. And then just to trust but verify, bring it back over here, stick it on where it goes, put the level on it again, and we are right on plumb. So perfect. And then after that, Dave comes over and shoots the nail in. So at that point, it's just a matter of tacking it right in place, and the stairs are a little bit easier because we got the angle to go in up top. So pretty simple once we did the initial work there. Apparently we had one misshoot there. Looks like we got 3 more to go. All the railing is in place now. We'll get it painted up later. We'll get or let the pressure treated post dry for a little bit. The rail itself is fir, so it's good to sit outside for a little while. So for now, I think that'll wrap things up. We'll be back later. We still need to put the brackets on top. It needs shingles and gutter and downspouts. There's a little miscellaneous work down on the lattice to do. We gotta slice into the concrete slightly on that pier just to get it to pass by like a 1/2 inch. Frustrating, but that is what it is. But most of the details are in place. Oh, and we need the column bases too. Those will be produced soon. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you haven't already done so, we'd really appreciate a like and a subscription. And until we're back here or on the next project, we'll see you on the next video.